Yo. What's up? Welcome back to Let's Chop It Up. Please follow
What's up, fellas? What's up?
Please follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Like and subscribe. Guys, how was your week? I want to set us off.
Oh, man.
It's cold.
Yes, and I know why you didn't throw that heat on for those kids. It's sad, man.
Man, I'm dealing with a lot. I swear, like every year I go through the same thing where I either got a pipe burst or I got something going on with my car or something. And winter decided to start this week. And guess what happened? My usual winter issues. Right now I got a burst pipe in my back, man.
Sorry to hear that, man.
And no way to get a plumber. So I gotta try to figure out what I'm gonna do with that, man. But it is what it is, man. Just trying to work it out, you know.
Yeah, that's funny, Derek, because I had a pipe burst today in the garage today too. The water hose line. So I had to, but it's my fault because I didn't shut the water hose line off this year. So I got a busted pipe in my garage too.
Same here, same.
Yeah, wow.
Homeowner issues, right?
Yeah, it's no joke, man. I have
no water. I'm just be real, John. The whole system, it froze because I'm not in the house. So, everything froze up. So it's good that we all together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's good. It's good the brothers together. It's good the brothers together. So what we have today on the chopping block, man, we have last week, man, we had the death of our dear brother Hank Aaron, who I still consider the home run champ. Because I don't fuck with cheaters like Barry Bonds. The only thing you should cheat on is women, in fact.
Yeah.
But that's another. But when you cheat on sports, man, that's why I draw the line.
Yeah. You got to draw the line somewhere, right?
Somewhere,
man. Exactly. And then we also lost our great sister, Cicely Tyson, the Queen Mother. And that lady was royalty, dignified, iconic, very regal sister. And she worked to almost her last day. She was just did an interview with Kelly Ripa, and so she's the truth. She was the truth. So, and then our other brother that just passed away, they say comes in threes. Our brother John Chaney from Temple University.
Yeah, and basketball coach.
Yeah, and let me ask you guys this question real quick. It was some white school colleges. I swore it was historical black colleges back in the day. Temple University, because John Chaney, everybody was black, right? And Georgetown University.
Yeah, John Thompson. I thought the same thing.
I thought they were black.
Yeah, me too.
I didn't think that Georgetown was black. A lot of people thought Georgetown was black because it's like you said, because the basketball, John Thompson with the basketball team, the whole basketball team was black or whatever. Pretty much the all black basketball team. But I knew that Georgetown was like famous, like kind of for like a law school too. So I said I didn't think it was all black.
I didn't know. And he walk around with a towel. All big black men walk around with towels.
I
thought that was a historical black college.
Yeah, I did too. I mean, Patrick Ewing and I'll say this. When I was in St. John's University, I had an opportunity to do a photo shoot at the Garden for the Coaches versus Cancer Classic, and John Chaney and Temple were there as well as Georgetown. So I had a chance to meet John Chaney. I got some pictures of him, and he will be sorely missed and truly a pioneer.
Yeah, and I think that all of that speaks to their influence and their effect on us as black people, man. To the point that we thought, where they went to, where they worked was actually black colleges.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and it was in black cities. That's why you think about it. You thought about Philadelphia, and you know what Temple's in the hood.
Yeah.
You thought about in Georgetown, you're thinking that's DC. So you thought that was I thought it was historical black college until I started applying for college in like '89. I was like, oh shoot, they only got 1% black people.
I didn't think Georgetown was black. Yeah, I didn't think Georgetown was black. Yeah.
Hey, remember they had no Hoya sneakers, so I thought it was really black. You know what I'm saying? You know back in the day,
and they took a lot of brothers that was in the hood that were like, playground legends and too.
They took my man Dave Edwards. God bless him.
That's right. Dave Edwards was at Georgetown.
That was my homie. Yeah,
Allen Iverson. Didn't Iverson do?
Yeah, because the reason Iverson went to Georgetown, he'll tell you because of Dave Edwards.
Yeah.
So that was. Hey, I miss Dave. That was my boy. I miss talking to him. Another thing, man. This. We noticed this is a fuckboy generation, really fuckboy generation going on, right? And we just saw recently in Harlem. I don't know if people saw it. These dudes. I don't even call them dudes. I'll call them some punks.
Losers.
Some losers. Jumped this lady in the liquor store because she went buying them wine or something like that. I mean, like something like that or something like that.
No, they asked her if they could pay for the wine she was buying, and she declined it. Very, very politely declined it, and then that's when things escalated.
Yeah. But I noticed one of the guys, they got a picture of the guy with the red coat with the black glasses and stuff. I think that I know somebody that works over there, and they said that there's a lot of gang territory over there, especially for like the Bloods. And if you kind of notice, if you saw the video, he had the blood chains around his neck. So I mean, that behavior is man. And I'm a man. I have daughters. I would lose it if somebody did that to my daughter or my wife. Absolutely. You know what I'm saying? It's just sad, And the thing is, to bite the woman in the face, to bite her in the face.
Yo, if that was not the biggest fuck boy,
I mean, come on.
In Northeast history, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
I have to watch myself though, man. When I see stuff when I hear things like that, because I have not watched the video, I refuse to watch the video. I have to watch the things that I take, in my mind, in my spirit. You know what I mean? But,
so Rodney, what do you think? What do you think about this, just from like law enforcement perspective? When you see this behavior, what is this saying? Because this is something deeper than just being rowdy or raunchy or reckless. It's got to be something. It feels like it's evil, first of all. But how do you unpack this?
I noticed when I was at the tail end of my career, I noticed that the streets were changing. You know what I'm saying? And when I was saying they were changing, the generation was getting younger and they were actually getting more irresponsible. More, I don't like to use the word stupid, but I'm going to use it today. It's like getting stupid. They don't accept accountability, but they want to do the things that it's going to get them in some serious shit. But as far as social media is concerned today, it's it's like I always tell you guys before we had a conversation about, it's too much technology out here for you to think that you're going to be able to maintain a long term of criminal behavior. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time before he's going to get picked up. Somebody's going to tell on him. They'll put a reward out. I mean, has he been caught yet? You guys know?
I haven't heard that he's been caught. Sure. But does this seem like an initiation or something like that? Because
no, what it is I remember when I first came on the job and I noticed, the tempo of the streets. Certain guys were in the streets and that's what they did. That's what their thing was. You had a certain group of people that, aligned with each other. And now it just seems like people are getting into the street culture and street life just because everybody else is doing it, and you really don't belong there. That's why there's so much snitching going on, because everybody's really not built for it. You know what I mean? So you got this clout chasing, people just trying to build reputations for themselves in a negative way. It's just like I said, there's no. I have to admit, when I first came on the job, there's a little bit more honor amongst criminals. Now there's no honor. They breaking every rule. Civilians used to be off limits. Women and children used to be off limits. You didn't take beef to people's house. That was off limits. None of that stuff accounts now. There's just all recklessness now.
You're right. Because at one time, you remember the drug dealer Pee Wee Kirkland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Pee Wee, for you young people don't know, he invented a crossover. So that's what give you. That's how nice he was. Nice in two games, in the street and in the ball game. Pee Wee Kirkland used to jog over here, and I used to run into him in Green Acres Mall. And Pee Wee Kirkland said that thing, the code. He said, when I had beef with somebody, if they was with their family, he said, I tilted my hat to them.
That's it. You got to wait today.
Each other, and we say, no, we catch each other another time. Yeah. But now the game has changed. There's no code to this joint no more.
There's no code. And that's why I tell people you're crazy today to get into the criminal world. It's like even the definition of snitching has changed. I hear people make statements, or young people make statements, oh, they snitched. No, there's a difference between snitching and telling, and there's a difference between people that got nothing to do with it and they're a victim of a crime and they tell on you, or they say, yo, this one did it. That's not snitching. Snitching is only involved when people are in the same game. If me and D rob a bank, right? And I knock Kelvin down on the way out the bank, and Kelvin tells on me, that's not snitching. Kelvin is a civilian. He saw a crime being committed and he told. That's not snitching. But people now want to categorize. And that's why I say this new culture, there's no honor. You see it, we shooting people when they with their kids, you know what I'm saying? And people's mothers and children getting hit. It's like I said, there's no honor at all now. It's just
in Baltimore, there was no shooting on Sundays. Remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Right. No murders on Sundays, because that's what people took their grandma, their mom at the church.
Well, you know what? We had to understand that there was going to be an effect. We knew that from the drugs in the 80s that we were going to have crack babies, right? And then the crack babies now are parents themselves. you see what I'm saying? Crack babies that were born from the drugs in the 80s are now parents themselves. And I don't know if there's a correlation. I would think there has to be some type of collateral damage from drug use, just like when you see certain people in Harlem, you know, the heroin in the 70s affected an entire generation. And I'm wondering it has something to do with, you know, some of the reckless behavior that has happened to children of people that were either users or abusers or something like that. That's my thought to it, because I don't understand it any other way.
Well, look at it like this way. You know, look, there's a whole culture that comes behind that. You know, we lost a generation, you know what I mean, essentially in terms of being, economically productive citizens, you know, and now those people went on ahead, and now, you know, there's an entire culture behind that. You know what I mean? So now we're not talking about crack babies, we're talking about crack generations now at this point, you know. So think about it, man, for a minute, you know.
Yeah. I think a lot of respect has been lost. Like they always use that term OGs. The OGs are supposed to bring up the next generation. Like the new generation is not respecting OGs and older people and people that have already been through stuff. They're not listening. They just, like I said, they're just reckless. Doing what they want to do.
It's children leading children, you know. And I remember, like, and our dear friend Chicken Wing, you know, he'd tell you he's a crack dealer, drug dealer, cocaine, all that stuff. And then when we go around the schools, he always said, "I'm the reason why y'all can't sit still. I used to sell your parents drugs."
Wow. That's deep.
That's deep. That's very deep.
Wow.
He always says that to the kids.
You know, a lot of family structures broken in homes too. The male not in the home, high rate of incarceration. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, a lot of these young guys today, they don't really have anybody that's going to keep them in check. You know what I'm saying?
And
well, let me ask you this. I'm sorry, D. I just want to ask Rodney. So, is this a situation where this is being worked around the clock? I mean, is that precinct really on?
There's no doubt about
like
that. I think, like we talked about it before. Anytime you get a high profile case where it's making the news and people are seeing it on TV, and then people, you know, those guys, they have to catch that. There's a lot of pressure on those detectives to actually go out there and close that case. Trust me, it's just a matter of time. They're gonna find them.
Right.
Yeah. They're gonna find if they didn't find them already, you know.
And the sad thing is, they were robbing somebody with like $700 coats on, $800 coats on.
Yeah. Stop for a minute. It wasn't even like they was starving like that, man. You know what I mean? Like you had enough money or wherewithal or whatever to get fashion. You know what I'm saying? Brand.
You know, exactly. Like when what's Free Ray said is that when my ribs start touching and my feet start that when you have rhymes like that, when you talk about like I'm starving, I'm hungry, I'm gonna rob me a person. These guys had coats on, more expensive coat than I have, and probably all of us here. And we own shit.
All right, let me ask you this question. I want to ask this question. Did they follow her in the store? How did that work? Did she come in and they were hanging in front of the store and they came in? Do you know that part? I just see that.
From what I understand, they said this liquor store, somebody wrote in the thing, this liquor store always had problems. There's always been stuff going around.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I know somebody that works over there, and they said that they're always hanging around in front of that store. That's like a main hangout spot. But from what I understand, she went inside, and basically they came in behind her, and the word was exchanged inside the liquor store, and then it spewed outside. I guess because of her, you know, she didn't accept his advance or his offer or what have you, and then things got ugly out in front of the store.
Yeah, Rod, could you tell anybody that's listening, maybe some of the female viewers, what you would have suggested for a woman in that position? There was a debate whether she should have come back in the store or if she shouldn't have left at all. Is there anything that you could shed on that possibly?
Honestly, my honest opinion is like try not to engage in a conflict with these guys. You see all those guys hanging out in front of the store. Like, don't get into a back and forth with these guys. You know, I know you got to try to keep your pride and, you know, you don't want to be insulted. But at the end of the day, this woman got seriously hurt. You know what I'm saying? Face bit, you know what I'm saying? Punched, whatever. I mean, I understand she was trying to stand up for herself, but she was outnumbered out there. Right. And physically, those guys are much stronger than her. So it was like almost like a no-win situation. And like I said, no far I'm condemning that shit, because that shit is just disgusting. But you know, don't agitate that situation. Just basically try to get out of it as quick as can and walk on home. You know.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say, those guys better be lucky that the cops find them before the streets do.
Correct.
So, well, speaking of more fuckboy shit.
Well, there's going to be a problem if he gets caught and he goes to jail. There's going to be some problems in there.
Oh yeah, no doubt. That's not even the question. That's a whole nother subject.
Yeah.
So some more fuckboy shit. Proud Boys leader Enrique Terrio, I think his name is, But the FBI we found out that he's an FBI informant. Anybody want to talk about that? Well, Rod, you know about informants because we talked about before from your background, police department, and we talked about informants, and we talked about it all the time. I ain't gonna put out all your business, but yeah.
That doesn't surprise me. Like anytime you guys come out as informants, it does not surprise me. Like that's why I tell, here we go again. Stay out of the criminal life. It's not going to work. It's not going to work for you. You will be surprised how many people are signed up in law enforcement as confidential informants. Like I remember when in law enforcement, of course, I can't say no names in those situations, but there were people that were like up there in the streets, guys that the streets claimed or recognized as being really bouted. You would be surprised how many of them were confidential informants because it works for them. They're in a criminal game and they get locked up for something. Last time I checked and throughout my career, I don't remember anybody excited about going to jail, especially doing football numbers. So when they get offered to go free or get less time, it's in their best interest. They're going to give somebody up. They're going to tell. They're going to tell. And you got another set of confidential informants that are on the payroll. So they get paid for telling.
Okay, so unpack this. How did this happen? So are you saying that he's an FBI informant that became a Proud Boy, or he's a Proud Boy that became how did this work exactly?
Well, how I look at it, I don't know his personal situation, but usually when with the FBI, they're masterful at flipping people. You know what I mean? They do a whole background on you. They look into your family. They look into your friends, your girlfriends, your cousins, and they put you in a vulnerable situation. So like if they're watching a group of people, it's just like they used to do with the mob and stuff like that. They would get somebody on the inside so that they would know what's going on. So they don't have to put down bugs and stuff like that. It's better to have somebody inside than getting caught watching. Because if I followed you for 5 months, Kelvin, you're going to eventually start seeing I'm following you. I don't have to follow you. I got somebody sitting right next to you that's going to tell on you. You know? So that's what they do. You know, the feds are very resourceful. You know what I mean? They will attack you in a lot of different ways, and they don't play fair. You know,
95% conviction rate, right?
The reason they have a 95% conviction rate is because, like I say, they zap you of your resources. Like, say you got a whole bunch of illegal money. They're going to find some way to shut that account down. They're going to shut your resources down. Say they know you're getting money from D. They're going to tap into D, shut D down. You know what I'm saying? So you can't defend yourself with an attorney. You don't got no money. Money makes everything work. Right. If they hit you in your pocket, it's going to slow you down tremendously. Right. You know, and like I said, they threaten you with your sister, they threaten you with your mom, just all this different stuff. They tap into, they know everything about you. They know what you did in the 3rd grade when you got your first credit card.
Listen, I know a federal agent. I ain't gonna tell how I ran across him, but he told me personally that they do minimum 18 months months investigation.
That's right.
18 months.
And by the time they arrest you, the case is so strong that guess what? You're gonna flip. You're going to tell because they say, hey, Kelvin, you're looking at 37 years. Kelvin, you look at yourself and say, I can't do 37 years.
Right,
you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know, I can't do that. I
can't do 37 minutes.
I can't do 37 days. You know what I mean?
Right.
So guess what? They're going to tell you, okay, what can you give us, Kelvin? What can you give us? And and the thing is, the way it works is you tell up. You don't tell down, you tell up. You got to give somebody higher than you. Yeah. So they've been watching the Proud Boys. They probably had this guy in there as a confidential informant, probably had something on him that made him flip. You know what I'm saying? I tell you, pressure bust pipes. You know what I'm saying? It's like they busted in me and Derek's garage today. You know, pressure bust pipes. You put pressure on people and they're going to break.
Yo, let me
wait, what? You got the guy with the horns telling on Trump now.
Yeah,
the guy that got caught in the Capitol with the horns and everything. Yeah. He's saying he's willing to testify in court, saying that Trump's speech basically stirred him up to go over and do it. He was listening to his leader because you know why? Because he don't want to go to jail. Nobody wants to go to jail.
But we know, like we have rappers and informants and stuff like that. But speaking of of rappers, real quick, our brother, dear Master P, who I think is a brilliant businessman, recently talked about Clubhouse, how Black people and Latino people made Clubhouse Clubhouse be worth $1 billion. Yeah. I mean, I thought Clubhouse was Black owned because they had a black guy face on. They tricked me too. So, you know, for people that don't know, Clubhouse is an app that people can get into these group meetings and talk about different things from real estate to whatever you want to talk about, stock market, baby mama, baby daddy drama and stuff like that. But it had so many followers, and they made it feel like it was exclusive by I would have anybody that's in Clubhouse will have to invite another person into Clubhouse and be part of it. So anybody want to chime in and talk about Clubhouse? And Master P, what he said.
Well, what is his stance? Because I know he felt like black people made it pop and then don't get anything from it, right? But how is that different than fashion, movies, music, and everything else? That has been what we've been up against. Now, does he blame them or does he blame us?
I think it's a combination. Go ahead.
Combination of both. I think he blames us too. I totally agree with what Master P, because Master P is on a totally another level. You know what I'm saying? This is a businessman. He's a shrewd businessman. He's experienced. He knows how these corporate entities work. He knows that they basically do studies on black people because we're the ones that make everything hot. If somebody can create a brand that can get us to follow it or to jump on it or to drink it, because that's the new thing too, these liquors and stuff. You know, he knows that it's going to blow up. So he's saying that we keep making other people billionaires and we don't make ourselves billionaires. You know what I'm saying? So that's the thing. Like somebody will start something like D just finished saying, the Clubhouse, how they made it exclusive and stuff, and they make it seem like this is this great thing and people come in. And then white corporate companies make billions of dollars from us, and they study us. They know what we like. They know that we're the ones that make things hot or not.
Yeah, no, we are market agitators. We are economic agitators. You know, basically, we are what makes things cycle. They've done all sorts of studies. They know that we watch more television and consume more media than every other ethnicity, whether it be internet, whether it be television, whether it be radio. This is going back. This is why you look like back when Fox was opening up, you know, as a network. What happened? They put so much of their programming was geared towards black people. They can cycle that out and start doing other things. You know what I mean? So they know this thing about us. It's just another elevation.
So why do we constantly fall for this? Why let's look at it from the other side.
We have to be educated about it for us to stop.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, y'all. I just think it's they listen. I just think we just need to get in on it ourselves. You know what I mean? If we know this about ourselves, if we know we're closer. Think of it this way: they spend an advertiser will spend so much money trying to reach a market, trying to reach your market while you're already there. They're trying to reach you. They're trying to reach your friends. Well, you're already there. You can beat them to that punch far before they can. You know what I mean? I just think we need to get in on it. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing.
But see, Derek, that's one of the things we're always the consumer.
Right.
When we are the owner, what we do is very simple. Someone comes and makes us an offer and we sell it. I mean, look at BET. BET, they offered him Johnson $1 billion, and all of a sudden he sells a media platform and outlet and he sells it. So in other words, what technically when you say a sell out, that's what we do. Yeah. Do we keep Beats headphones or do we sell them to somebody else? Do we keep whatever we create or do we sell it to someone else? In other words, the carrot and the stick is always waved in front of us, and we sell it because I'm going to get mine, and everybody else got to get theirs, and that's it. So we'll do that every single time. Yeah. Every time we'll do it, we'll just sell it out. That's it.
Well, like I was saying, we have to educate ourselves about what's going on, right? Like, just like Derek said, we're already there. We already know what's hot. We already know what's not hot. Hip hop, rap, the artists, the athletes, all this stuff. They tap into these people because they're marketing giants. So the thing is, if I sign a certain person on to promote a liquor for me, right? Guess what? That hot rapper can make that liquor turn into the hottest thing to ever happen. Now they use us for that. They offer artists, you know, a certain amount of money, and they go out there and they market it. They put their name on it. They promote it on social media. They wear the clothes, whatever, and they make other white executives very rich. When we need to kind of like think about keeping that within ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Because the thing is, the artists, the celebrities, the athletes, they are the marketing giants. And like I said, it's like Lil Wayne getting a pardon. Lil Wayne getting pardoned because he was kind of attached to a guy that owns a liquor company that needs him to be free so that he can promote this new liquor.
Right.
Yep. Real quick, but somebody said, and I'm gonna go to one more topic, that some of the black apps, and I truly agree. I think it was Nicole said it, that they are not user friendly. I tried to do the Melanated People app. I'm not gonna say it was. It needs some help. It needs some love. It needs some care.
Well, like I say, these corporations, they know how to. Like Derek said, they spend a lot of money on perfecting things and marketing things, or whatever. We need to be able to have those same resources too in order for things to blow. It's like when you look at Master P. Master P is now selling so much stuff, and it's like I talk to people, they have no idea that he's even selling it. Like he's selling fish fry, he's selling ramen noodles, he's selling cereal. He got a cereal. Rice. Yeah.
Those sneakers are ugly as hell, but he's selling sneakers.
I'm not to knock Master P, but Master P's sneakers were always ugly. He always ugly sneakers.
Nah. Go ahead.
Cereal. He got cereal.
Yeah.
He got a cereal called Hootie Hoos. I'm not being funny. He got a cereal called Hootie Hoos.
And that's why I can't be mad at Master P, man.
But these are things he's done studies to say these are things that black people are buying, but he's
wait. I want to challenge this, and I see what Nicole is saying. I see what you're saying, but at the end of the day, we don't pool our resources. Though let me say, our buying power dollar is really strong. We don't pool it. The problem is sometimes we won't work with each other. I remember years ago, a dude said, "I will drive 20 miles to support another Jew." He said that I'll drive past 1 million hardware stores to support another Jew. Until we can say that, I just don't know that we can, get to where we need to get to. We don't have the same resources, but if we pull them, it can come together.
Yeah.
So real quick, since we have the topic of rappers, has anybody seen the thing when Wendy Williams started dry snitching on Method Man, saying she had sex with Method Man, and it made it seem like she just had sex with him today, like he was on Power and she had sex with him. So I think this was probably when he was. I think it was when he was coming up when he had the little fake eye thing and everything. I hope so. God knows.
No, it was supposedly years ago when he was in Wu-Tang. That's when she was saying it.
Yeah, I hope so. Because otherwise,
I made a promise to myself that I would never get on our show and say anything foul or try not to. And right now, I'm perplexed. Right now, I'm
struggling right now.
Everything I want to say is foul already. So I'm gonna just wait and listen for a minute. But I didn't hear about it.
She watching Auntie. Oh, I didn't know the show came on tonight. So Auntie Wendy, I'm gonna go make sure I'm gonna support the sister though. I'm gonna support the sister. I'm glad
there you go.
She came a long way. She got rid of that punk ass husband of her, Kevin.
Yeah.
I got stories with him too, man. But that's another subject. But anyhow, man, people always joke about us right here, right? Like, we got the light skin, dark skin jokes all the time because, Ronnie and Derek was teaming up on me and Kelvin and everything.
And we're winning. We're winning too.
No. I had a period, but we came back.
I'm sorry, I forgot. My producer, Jamie, said we have to go to commercial first. So I'm sorry about that, Jamie. I missed that one because I did see that. I missed that. So let's go to commercial first, and then we go back to the topic of that. Sorry about that.
We'll be back after this.
You're going to get fired, D. You're going to get fired.
All right, I make a mistake once in a while, man. Yo, what's up? Welcome back, man. I guess I made a mistake. You know, don't say it's a dark skin thing. So I'm just want to make sure you don't do that. You know, and real life, the people at real life, I need a shirt saying I'm betting on everything black. Whatever you had there, I need that hoodie. I gotta come by and get that one, and I gotta come back if it's the truth is not hating. I don't have that in my collection. I need to wear that on the show, man. Just talking to the people at real life. I don't know if anybody in this here know who many people at real life are.
I think I can make a phone call.
But now let's like the thing on color, like you know, we have our own battles in our community over light skin, dark skin. We've seen it in certain movies over the years, from school days to all kind of stuff like that. And we have this battle going on within the black community. A lot of people don't understand that the same battle that goes on with us also goes on in our brothers in the Latin community. So with that said, can we bring our first guest on for tonight, my sister, Redeeme Polanco.
Hi.
Oh, hi.
How you doing?
How you doing, sister?
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
What's going on? This is my sister Redeeme, man. I love this girl, man. She works hard at what she do. I'm not gonna tell what she do for a living, but you know she works very hard at, and she's a big and she works hard in our community on educating people about a whole bunch of different things, and she could talk about that later on at the end of the show. But Redeeme, sister, we talk about colorism, and you and I had this discussion a few times, and we talked about on the side and stuff like that. So can you tell us your first experience with colorism?
Yeah, of course. I can't remember it because it was at birth, but it happened. Yeah, I mean, it dictates everything. So actually, like my grandmother disowned my father and her grandchildren because he married a woman who happened to be darker and who presents as black, right? Who's a black woman. Although don't tell my mother that, she's still struggling with that. Right. So yeah, so she disowned us. And since a very young age, I didn't have a connection with my father's side of the family until recently. As adults, I'm able to connect with them on a different level, but I don't have those cousins growing up kind of stories with my father's side of the family because of that. So yeah, it happened a very long time ago.
Redeeme, what's your nationality? What do you identify with?
I'm a Black Dominican. Right now, I'm kind of struggling with the whole title of Latino, Latinx, the Latinidad. That's a big conversation that I'm starting to have around Latinidad being part of the erasure of Black people within the Latin American culture. So, so right now, I'm identifying as a Black Dominican.
Okay. So Redeeme, when growing up, where did you grow up at?
I grew up in Harlem. So I was born in the Dominican Republic. I am an immigrant, but I grew up in Harlem. Okay. Yeah, I've been there since I was 6 years old or so.
So how did you experience that when growing up? How was that with a childhood when you you have I'm assuming you speak Spanish, right?
Yes,
fluently. And then so how was that growing up in Harlem? Because Harlem is a mixed bag. You know, Harlem's a mixed bag. So how was that growing up in Harlem? Did you experience that as a child? Did you get teased and stuff like that? And who did you fit in at the lunchroom table with? You know.
So that's a really interesting story because I have that dual experience where in my community there are little pockets of just Dominicans living amongst each other, and then pockets of Black people who are non-Spanish speaking. So I grew up by the Polo Grounds. I don't know if you know what the Polo Grounds are. But they're the projects, and I lived about 5 blocks away from them. And there's this huge park across the street from my house that goes all the way to the Polo Grounds. And I used to get jumped a lot by the Black girls on the block because I was Puerto Rican. They used to just grab my long hair and be like, I hate you, you goddamn Puerto Rican. And I'm like, I'm Dominican, leave me alone. And then with my Dominican friends growing up and family, I'm the, dark skinned girl. I'm the Black girl, whatever the case may be. And then I go to school and I'm the light skinned, exotic, girl with the pretty, good hair in school. So it's just really interesting how, depending on the context of the situation, I was treated very differently based on my phenotype and my complexion.
But we were always taught that the closer you look to white people, people felt that that meant that you were more accomplished or that you were going to be more accomplished. One of the things, and I want to know if this had an effect on you or if you experienced this, I can remember being a kid, even within the black community, they would treat little black girls that were light different than dark black girls. So if they were like fighting or something like that, don't touch her because you're going to scratch her face and she's too pretty and she's this, that, and the third, where the dark-skinned girl was just discarded. Did you experience things like that even within the family? I know you didn't deal with your father's side, but even your mother's side of family, just being light complected, did you notice you were treated different or treated better in some cases?
Well, my mother's family's in the Dominican Republic, so when I would go back there, they treated me like I was made of glass. So that's a very different dynamic because I'm like, I travel, you know, I'm from New York. But I did see how I have this aunt and my uncle, and they had 3 kids, right? So their eldest kid is really dark. They call it Peña Gomez Black because that's one of like the presidential candidates there that was really dark that they considered Haitian. And then the middle child was similar to like my complexion, a little light skin. And then the youngest was white, like her skin pale. She had very light brown hair. And the treatment between the 3 of them, and mind you, they have the same mother and father, and the treatment that they had was just like so significantly different. And I was able to see that and how like even things like hair, you know, Dominicans, you know, they're known for for blowing the kink out of your hair. So
really.
We went to too many Dominican.
They blew my joint.
You went to the super Dominican store. They
Word up, man.
They blew it right out.
They blew it out, brother. Word up, man.
Yes, I got to experience like seeing it from, you know, that side of like being in the like on the island, right? Like seeing it happening there. And then here, you know, on the block, like, okay, you're pretty because you have like, you know, the long and, you know, back then I straightened my hair and the loose curls, but I was still like, my nose was too big. My lips were too big. Oh my God. I used to be made fun of so much for like having big lips. And even back then I knew I was different because I'm like, I got these big lips. Let me wear the darkest, like boldest lipstick that I could find. And I would just wear it and be like proud of my big lips. But you know, I used to get made fun of a lot within the Latin community because of my nose and because of my big lips and, you know, how like, I don't know, my face like just didn't like appeal. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, did it ever give you discomfort? Did you ever feel less than because of that? Because it seems like you were really secure in who you were as far as your esteem is concerned.
Oh, no.
Back then they didn't market like little dolls and things like that. There was a time when there were not really black dolls. There were times when everything had to look, you had to look like that Barbie type. And I think that created a lot of problems with a lot of kids early on. And obviously with females, the pretty thing, what I've noticed with Latin friends of mine, they tell me that when they were young, their mothers and aunts would be like, you need to look pretty or else you're not gonna get a man or you whatever. There seemed to be a lot of value put into the way you physically looked, even from an early age. Did you experience that?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm a little different because I grew up like tomboyish, right? So like anything that had to do with really like female stereotypical things, I kind of ran away from. Even something as simple as like, you know, my parents hated it when I like whistled, and that made me just whistle more. But I had horrible self-esteem as a young woman, as a little girl growing up, because everyone who in the telenovelas who was like the you know, the protagonist, everyone who was in the news, and you know, my friends that got the most attention happened to be the light-skinned girls who were lighter than me, and who were more palatable when it comes to having, you know, non-black features, who just looked like they were mixed with something else. So like for me, I had horrible like self-esteem growing up. I did not think I was cute. I mean, I was fine I used to wear big clothes and like, you know, sweatpants and Timbs, and that was my way of like hiding from that femininity and not feeling like feminine enough to exist in my own body. But I was really lucky to have a lot of like Black role models in my schools, counselors, teachers, etc., who, you know, introduced me to like Black literature and just a really different understanding and knowledge of Black history. And therefore myself, I was able to like identify it in that way. And I based my self-esteem not on my looks, but on the things that I learned, because that's something that, you know, regardless of how much you age or, you know, whatever, you know, happens in your life, that's something that you always have, right? Like you keep, unless, you know, God forbid something happens that's like cognitive. But yeah.
So, go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, Radim, let me ask you a question about the workplace. Do you notice, you know, in the Latino community, do you think that lighter Hispanics have better opportunity in the workplace than darker Hispanics?
Actually,
because I want before you answer that, because the reason why I'm asking that is because I worked in the police department for a long period of time, and I used to notice it. I used to notice that the lighter Hispanics, were able to assimilate a little bit easier with their white counterparts than the darker Hispanics were.
Yeah, I mean, we have to understand that like the reach of colorism doesn't stop at the, you know, U.S. border.
Yeah.
You know, colonialism happened in the Caribbean as well. So the same way that you have this like concentration of power amongst white people, it's a similar dynamic in the Latin American community and in Latin American countries, which is why you see all these like artists and people who are on TV have access to that kind of exposure, because they tend to be higher up on like the class system or whatever.
Because they're lighter.
Yeah, and like most people that happen, I mean, obviously not everyone, but because there's poor light-skinned people here in the United States, light-skinned Black people, non-Spanish speaking, but if you were, you know, light skinned, you were more likely to get married or to marry into a, you know, a good family. You were more likely to get opportunities. You know, you're more likely to not be looked over for things. It's the same dynamic. And when you get here to this country, which is part of the conversation around Latinidad that I brought up earlier, which is, I mean, I'm sure that you understand the idea of like, there was this like movement for Black liberation that for some reason turned into like diversity in like the workplace and diversity in like in these spaces that were corporate or that you know, had to comply with some kind of like demographic. And what they ended up doing is that they used Latinos that were palatable, aka white Latinos, to fill in that need or like to meet that, to check that box of diversity, and still ending up with like a similar look, right? A similar looking.
Correct.
So it's and you can still see it like today in different organizations. For sure, I see it in ours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't get us in trouble, Regina.
That's
what
I mean, you know, you gotta be real. It's true. I mean, it doesn't make the people who are doing the work any less able to do the work or any less capable, right? It doesn't mean that they don't necessarily deserve to be there, right? I think it's the idea that there wasn't a counterpart to compete with, right? To create that like sense of, well, there are other options, that makes that the fact that people get to rise to these spaces, it just makes it a little bit, to me, difficult to grasp or to like be okay with. But it doesn't mean that people who get to where they get aren't necessarily good for the job, right?
Correct.
And they use the same playbook they did back in the day when they used to hire a Black woman, so they killed two birds, one stone. So we hired a minority and we hired a woman. So they do the same thing, you know, and then
double minority.
Exactly.
And they do the same thing like with Latinos, right? Where they keep we're so diverse. We have so many Latinos and we have so many and then you look at everybody look white.
And the only way you used to notice it is unless they had like a Hispanic last name.
Right.
You know?
Right. And then and now you're a person of color, right? Because you get to use the benefit of that privilege when of the benefits that come with it when it suits you, right? So I mean, I know I'm a light-skinned girl, right? And I'm wherever I've been, I know that has had something to do with my ability to have access to things, right? It's not the sole determinant, but we have to admit that whatever that privilege is, that it's a privilege and it's a benefit, and we use it, right? We just have to make sure that when we use it, that we amplify the voices of people who are our counterparts, or who aren't being heard. And I hope that I do that.
Mm-hmm. I have a Dominican friend who she said when she was young, she grew up in DR. Well, her parents moved from DR when she was in second grade. But she said her grandfather said, "I would rather you be with a white man in a wheelchair than a black or Hispanic man." And it was just really amazing, because it's this idea that white people, I've heard Latin people say, you knew not to bring somebody black in the house. You knew not to bring somebody black around your cousins or whatever. It wouldn't be accepted. And that just seems so powerful. And we don't recognize that. There used to be this thing like black people and Latin people are together, shoulder to shoulder in this struggle. But I noticed that there was a divide that was planted when it gets to it, when it comes to being in front of this society or something like that. Did you see that, or do you see that, or what her grandfather told her? Is that common?
Yeah, no. So there's this saying in Latin America. I mean, for sure in Dominicans, but I've heard other nationalities also express that. There's this saying called "mejorar la raza," which basically means to like improve your race. So that means that every generation, your goal is to make it lighter. So the idea of marrying up, not necessarily financially, although that there's a correlation between like being white and having wealth and access, right? But the idea is that you, as a woman, you need to marry someone who's lighter skinned, right? Or if you're a light skinned woman, then this black man who's in a higher position financially, to marry a light skinned woman so they can have light babies, and to kind of like lighten it with every generation. So that's a real thing that like people strive for in Latin Americans community. I know for sure Dominicans, like, so happy if you date a white like American man. It's like, oh my God, like that's like the top tier.
It's a status symbol.
I don't conform to that.
And they don't have to be good looking guys, and they don't have to be just.
They don't know what that is
equity.
Yeah, they don't know what that is. Like good looking. That's why you get so many like. There's just so many people who just don't look like classically beautiful, and they're like matched up. But there's like the light skinned, the light skin connection is like a big deal. But for me personally, I brought my first boyfriend home, and he was a black man from here. His family was Caribbean, and my father disowned me for bringing a black man home, and like refused to shake his hand until I had to like scream at my dad, like, how dare you, right? Well, actually, I disowned my dad, but like he wouldn't talk to me, so I was like,
"Y'all got the disowning game on lock in your family."
Like, we ready to cut people off. No, so my thing is, like, at a very young age, I'm like, I've experienced so much like discrimination or being feeling less than, and then you have these people that are older generations that they just don't want to listen, like they don't want to learn or understand a different point of view. And they're so stuck in the idea that this is how things are supposed to be, that your only way to like get through to them is to like, unfortunately cut deep, right? And that's like, you cannot have access to me. I'm a black woman, right? Like, as my father, as my friend, as a man, whoever you are, you are not allowed to have access to me if you do not accept blackness, because I am black. Your idea of negating someone in my life or something that represents that, to me is rejecting me. So to me, it's a very personal feeling. So it's not very hard for me to distance myself from people when I experience that. Although lately I've been working on being more compassionate and approaching things from a different point of view, because I've learned so much, and I think it's important to like at least be able to have conversations and plant the seed.
And Lisa said her mom used to ask her why wouldn't she bring home date a white man. That's deep. That is really deep.
Say that again.
Lisa, let me go back home. She said her mom used to ask me why wouldn't you date a white man? Why would you date a white man?
It's sad because you're basing happiness on race instead of just somebody that's treating you right and gonna love you.
Yeah,
So
you just like,
that's insane to me.
Yeah, there's no.
Yeah. I guess you could. Listen, they say that ugly
So
have a. However, as long as you wear Gucci down to the socks,
rings and watch.
Bill would rock.
Now, I want to tell you, I have some friends that were. One friend that was born in Puerto Rico. She said all of her brothers' birth certificate says white.
Yeah,
all of them said white.
I'm sure they got a little melanin in them.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. But the birth certificates say white, and I mean that just seems to be currency. And I have to admit, when I was a kid, I had cousins that were lighter than me, and the first insult was "you black," whatever. I mean, whatever it was, it started with black. And the cartoons back there would get on you if you were black. It's just something about blackness that really disturbed people, because I think you hit on something. People did not want to have black babies because it seemed like the darker you were, the worse you were treated. In slavery, fair-skinned blacks were treated better than darker-skinned blacks. So it is a cycle. What do you think, or what would you say to this generation coming up, or younger people that may be struggling with it? How do we break this cycle? What would you suggest?
Well, I think just to go back a little bit, because you also have to understand that if you are a person who is darker, you are experiencing racism, discrimination, and violence, right? So it was also a matter of survival for you to have lighter skinned children, for you to wanting to make your family lighter, because the lighter you were, the less you were prone to receive violence and discrimination. So I just wanted to make sure that we understood that it's not just because of because they're prettier or they're better, but it was also a tool for survival. And for the new generation, I mean, for me, my sense of self, I gained it through learning about Black culture. And I think that the more that we learn about ourselves, the less people can tell us who we are. So regardless of what identity you're talking about, it's really about having conversations and questioning the status quo and learning history that's not just in school, because obviously that's never been enough. It's not even correct, and it's super whitewashed. So to me, it's really hard for me, because I think about, okay, so who has access to that, right? To that information, to that valuable knowledge, and who can make sure that the next generation has it. And to me, I try my best to, with the idea that each one teach one, right? Where whoever I am around, they know they're going to learn something. Right. They're going to learn something that day that they didn't know before. And my goal is to listen so that I can best share in that experience, and be able to not just reject them or cut them off, right. But to bring them into the conversation and hopefully plant that seed where you can because once that seed is there, people, those people who are newly woke, you start seeing microaggressions everywhere. You start seeing racism everywhere, because it's not hard to notice once you're aware of it. And once you're aware of the problem, you can tackle it, right? So that to me is, I guess, what I would say and how I approach it. But there's just so many different ways to do the thing, right? To get to that place.
Do you think there's a difference between a preference and a prejudice? And I don't know where we kind of delineate between the two, because I could say, what is your preference with men? You may just say, hey, I like somebody tall, or I make someone a certain complexion. Some people like someone that's totally the opposite of them, and that's just a preference. I think the prejudice comes in when you think someone else is less than because of the way they look, and I think they should be treated as less than. So, because I think we all have preferences. There's certain guys like women with long hair or fair skin or whatever, and I don't think that's a problem. But when you because I think your preference,
some of that is programmed into people.
I think that could be true, but I think some is innate. In other words, I don't think someone tells you who to be attracted to. You see what I'm saying? You can just say, you could be attracted to someone and just not know why. It's just natural attraction. And so I think that's fine, right? But it's just I will only date you if you're 5'7" and this, that, and third. I think that's the issue. And if you discount somebody because they're not that, But I mean, attraction is attraction. I think. Well, put it like this: do you have a preference when it comes? Like, would you date a guy that's 4'7"? You may say, "Hey, I don't like guys shorter than me."
Well,
I'm assuming you're taller than 4'7".
Yeah, I think, Calvin, I think a lot of things with attraction is programmed into a lot of people.
For sure.
When you hear people talking about, I only date this, I only like this, I only like that, a lot of that it's definitely programmed, especially out here today with all this social media. People, let me tell you something. I've had conversations with numerous guys, right, and especially when it comes to attraction, and I've heard guys say some horrible shit, like about what they like and what they don't like. And then I've heard guys say things about they're attracted to, but they're afraid to let people know that they're attracted to it because of what other people think. So I definitely believe a lot of attraction is.
I agree that's programmed, but right now, and most of you guys are married and on the way, right?
Yeah.
Your wife, right? Was that somebody that you like? I just found something different about her, or you just said, "Hey, you know what? It was nothing, kind of preconceived. I just saw her and I was attracted." You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, with myself, man, with my wife, I've spoken many times. I've dated all types of women. I didn't necessarily ever have a specific type of woman that I was ever physically attracted to. You can look, but you can look and see, like, well, look at the basketball players and the entertainers. Look at who they tend to date.
Correct.
What do they?
And they tend to be lighter skinned women.
Yeah, I agree. You can just rubber stamp them. You know what I mean? And they just kind of get them on. So what is that? It's some sort of some sort of influence, some sort of cachet. It brings something to them. Maybe it opens doors for them. I don't know. But so much of what we date, especially when we're coming up, is so much of what we are interested in is driven by what others think. You know what I mean? Yes. Do you think? Does he think my woman is pretty? Does she meet the standard? You know what I mean? It's so ego driven.
So someone can program you to think Flavor Flav is attractive.
But see, I think that you're.
You're going too far.
You've been.
If he's Gucci down,
I don't care if his name is Gucci. Go. I'm sorry.
Real quick.
I think that go ahead.
No, go ahead. And somebody said, can you explain what microaggressions are for people that don't know?
Oh yeah, sure. Microaggressions are like comments that people may have around you that are negative and based on like stereotypes or something race related, right? Like when they come up to you and, let's say a white woman who did not grow up in Harlem is like, "Hey girl," right? Like, stop it. Right. Like that's you're assuming that because I'm a Black woman from Harlem or whatever, that's my speech. Right. Or that's how I'm comfortable.
It's the only way I can communicate. Yeah.
Right. Or like if you happen to like and as a woman, right, like if a woman cries in the workplace, it's like, oh, she's on her period. Like comments that minimize the person's humanity based on these preconceived ideas and stereotypes of who they should be because of their identity, especially if they're negative, those are microaggressions.
Right. Mm-hmm. Got you.
But I wanted to speak to preference, right? Because it's funny that the thing that you mentioned that you said that you prefer is long hair, right?
No, I didn't say I prefer that. I said some people.
Right. But that is.
No, that's me. That is a rumor that is.
Get him.
No, I didn't say that. I'm not talking about myself.
We're gonna have to check your Facebook. No, so like I mean, it's just interesting that that's the thing that you mentioned, right? Because those are the things that so many men tend to prefer. But why do you prefer it? Because we are, we are programmed, right? Yeah. The fact that you're unaware that you're programmed doesn't mean that you're not, right? So like, there's so many. White people who don't see racism and don't experience it, so so it doesn't exist, right? We have to understand that these preferences that we have, they come from somewhere, and they tend to come from the environment that we're in. So like I grew up with always people telling me that I should get married and that I should have kids and that I should marry
Hey,
light.
there we go.
Hey, Redeemer, you missed the white guy. He just walked by. The white man.
He just went
We got
by.
one
Listen.
random white guy on the show.
No,
One random
Redeeme
white guy.
thought she just ignored it. And let me say this. This is the thing. Redeeme,
I
Wait,
was going.
no,
You was
Redeeme,
going
don't,
to right past it, right?
Redeeme, don't think I don't know you didn't hit me with the two-piece. I saw how you hit me because you don't know your program. I caught that. I want you to know that. I'm going to run that tape.
I'm just saying,
That-
like,
right.
I'm okay with, like, I think that it has to do also with insecurities because there's just it's just multifaceted. We can't just say that it's the one thing. Because for me, I'm okay with dating a man who's shorter than me as long as he's comfortable with a woman who's wearing a heel that's really high and he's not insecure about that. I'm 5'5" with brown eyes. Like I'm average.
We're about to start the dating game. We're about to get the dating game right now.
I'm 5'5". If he's not 5'5", we gotta have that conversation open. I feel
I'm
you.
fine. I've dated shorter men, and my question to them is, well, I like wearing 6-inch heels. Are you comfortable standing next to a woman who's 6 inches or whatever taller than you? And if he's fine, then I'm fine, right? Like that's my man.
I'm the same.
He might wear heels himself. Prince.
I'm just
You're
saying,
wrong,
like,
D. You got to be wrong.
I mean, it's cool when they're tall, but
Well,
like,
I know that,
I
I just said that for the viewing audience. No.
Yeah, no, but I think it's just we have to. That's what I mean when we have to like question the status quo. Like, why do I like the girl with long hair versus what's the other option, right? Like, why do I like the light skinned person, or why? Like, these things are so superficial that if you question them enough, you can get to the root of the thing.
No, absolutely.
I only date sugar mama. I only date sugar mamas. I need old ladies out getting pensions and stuff like that. That's all I like to date. So I'm like,
I'm sure you can find some.
Lisa, Prince is 5'2". Yeah, Prince was 5'2" with all ladies. Hey, but remember, he stayed
money.
Gucci.
Money,
He had money.
help.
And women, they said he had good hair.
Yeah.
Good hair. In quotes.
No, I'm just playing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Redeeme.
Redeeme, let me ask you one more. Let me ask you another question.
Ask away.
Yeah, with the politics and things. With politics and everything about the Latino vote and all this other stuff like that, do you think more of the lighter skinned Latinos were going for Trump and his ideologies, or do you think it was just a mixed bag? Because I saw like a lot of when they shot the Florida, they showed mostly it was light skinned Cubans. And then when they shot to certain places, other countries like Venezuelans and stuff like that, well, always the lighter skinned ones. You know what I'm saying? Compared to like Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic and stuff like that. Do you think it was a mixed bag, or do you think that was on purpose, or you think? Let's talk about that real quick.
I mean, I know of people who are Black Latinos. Maybe they don't think they're Black Latinos, but I know they are. That voted for Trump, and it has to do because either they're part of the police force or.
Whoa, there you go. Go ahead, girl. She's on track.
Right. So there's like, for me, that was like the reasoning behind that, instance. But when you relate to that like ideology, to the white is right, I don't necessarily think that it's specific to light skin, although I can see why a light skin or white passing or white presenting Latino would lean into that direction. But I've known Black Nigerians who are like, down for Trump, and I don't understand it, so I couldn't like really tell you what that would look like. I know that 30% of the Latin American population here in the United States voted for Donald Trump. Like 30% of the Latin vote was for Donald Trump. That's a lot, right? Like that's, to me, that's a deficiency in knowledge of self and history, because if you really learn about what like colonialism and whiteness did to, ravaged our nations till this day, I just think people don't understand, and they're so willing to give up identity for the sake of that blanket of white privilege that they don't recognize what they're really doing, right? So
yeah, I tell you one thing, you just nailed it right on the head. The Hispanics that I noticed from the police department, even when I was on it and even after I left, it's a lot of Hispanics on the police department were desperately trying to assimilate into being white, to be accepted by whites. as far as like, when they're going for certain positions. And the last thing they wanted to be associated with was being black. They didn't want to associate with it. And like I said, when there was opportunities for people to go up through the ranks because certain positions had to be appointed, you would notice that lots and lots of times the lighter skinned Hispanics were getting those positions.
Yeah.
And like I said, if you saw pictures across the board, everybody looked the same except for that last name. But desperately trying to assimilate and to be accepted by whites.
And also, like, look at all the like presidents and like people in government and people with money that happen to be Latin American. They're white.
Yeah.
They're white. You know what I mean? Like it's not
like
just
Ted Cruz.
a problem. I mean, right? Like
Ted Cruz is white, but he's got that Spanish last name.
Yeah, he don't claim him. So Redeem,
no, we don't claim him either.
Redeem, before going, like, we want to thank you and everything like that, and like you gave us so much information, so much knowledge and stuff. Like, I truly know how much I adore you and everything. Yeah, anything that you want to promote and talk about, like what's going on in your life, and like, I know you like to run and everything like that. Anything like that?
Yeah. So I'm an endurance athlete. I'm a pacer and captain for Harlem Run, and it's a free community-based movement where Mondays and Thursdays we meet to do workouts, masks only. We social distance, etc. And we meet outside. So we run through like all weather. So I'll be pacing through the winter into the summer and spring. So Harlem Run, IG, Twitter, etc. Facebook. And I'm also founder of Sip and Face Paint. Although I'm going through like a moment of rebranding right now, where I do in-person tutorials for beginners who are interested in like learning how to do their makeup and like beating their face and contouring, etc. So those are some of the things that I'm involved in. I'm also a part of like different DNI groups doing work in different communities that I'm a part of, and just trying to advance the work of equity and inclusivity and diversity.
Cool.
All right.
She's the Black Forrest Gump, y'all. She's the Black Forrest Gump. This girl, and she be running.
Redeem, you did a great job. You did a great job.
Great job.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy I could just join you guys. This was a really fun conversation. Anytime you guys want me on, I'm coming.
Look at you. Before you was a little nervous. Now you're not worried, right? It was easy, right?
Oh, no. I was fine. I have these conversations in my sleep. Let them on. He knows.
There you go.
Yeah, she does. She does. This is
we
the
talk about this all the time.
Yep, all the time. It could be a 5-minute conversation turned to an hour. So
always.
So.
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
I love you, my sister. Right?
Yeah,
we just come blue by. I love you, sister. Be safe out there, right? Keep running, all right?
Guys. You too. Stay safe.
Have a good night. Take care.
Right. Peace, sister. All right. Wow, that was dope, y'all. Rod's in the middle.
I'm in the middle. I guess
that colorism.
That license is working. Tell him to do you. Do Derek next. Now do Derek.
Oh man, I don't need that much.
Nah, that was good. Redeem gave it to us, man. Like educating us, like her
great
background. Great job from the sister.
My agent is working. My agent.
That's
there you go.
That's Jamie. Come on, and he got a white man, so we got 2 pluses going on. Man. That's fucked up, man. Word, man. I can't even find a random white man in South Jamaica, Queens, man. They all moved. All the white people moved out, man. So Kelvin, what you think, man?
I thought it was excellent. First of all, I see how y'all try to hit me with the 2-piece on the low. I see what's going on. Redeeming got all on me. All right,
she's about to get you, kids. She's about to get you.
She was. I was just talking for people in the street. Wasn't talking about myself, But no, I really thought it was great. You guys. First of all, D knows everybody, and he knows some great people, and that's a testament of who he is. He's a great person, like you guys are. So we always have the best guest here on. Yep. Let's chop it up. You know what I mean?
That's right.
But no, I learned a lot, and unfortunately, that is something that has plagued us for years. And she hit on the main thing about identity. I want to tell you something. I have a story that I like to share with everybody. Now, listen, the story is not funny. The strangest things happened to me. Okay, so
it's not about cats, right?
It's not about cats, and it's not native. It's not native tales this time.
Okay.
So I'll tell you what it was. So was interesting. in 2016 when I started my business. I became a franchise owner for Sears Maid Services. And just a little context, really, really quick. Sears, the retailer, is going down the tubes. We know that. The home service side is what I bought into, which is still in existence. So we do that to this day. And as anybody knows, when you start a business, you have a problem with capital. You know, it was the first time in my life I was responsible for making payroll. So I was trying to figure out what could I do when I start this business that will give me time to make money somewhere else and still be able to run my business. So I came up with an idea. Back then Uber had these signs that was saying like, we guarantee you $5,000 a month if you drive for us and all stuff like that. So I said, perfect. You can work when you want. I said, I'll drive for Uber. So I said, I'll do my maid stuff during the day, run the business, and then I'll drive for Uber to help me pay my staff. Okay. Herein lies the problem. So one day I'm working for Uber now. And this is the first time I publicly admitted that I drove for Uber. I want to say that was a big step for me. I used to try to keep it on the low. So I'm like, I'm not gonna have a master's degree driving for Uber. I don't want none of my friends to see me. Right? But you know, you got to do what you got to do for your business. So one day I'm in Long Beach, and I don't want people to think that I only drove Uber in areas that were not native populated. I don't want people to think that, because that would be wrong.
Hey,
so anyway,
I only deliver pizza in other neighborhoods. I'm keeping it real.
Well, I'm in Long Beach, right? And I figure Long Beach would be great. You know, you got the beach there in the summertime, you know, a lot of tourists. So anyway, I get a call, and I got to go pick up. The person's name is Larry. So I'm going to pick up Larry, right, in Long Beach one night. And the only way to make money really was you had to get like a Long Island to Manhattan trip, right? But this is perfect. Person is going to Manhattan. So I get there, you have no idea who's about to get into the vehicle, okay? So that's the kind of weird thing about this, because you don't know. You just have a perfect stranger getting into your car. So I'm waiting one day, and this Larry pops up on the screen, pick him up in Long Beach. When I pull up, this guy brings the woman to the vehicle. He puts her in the back seat, and the man takes off like Carl Lewis. I've never seen a person try to get out of there that fast. So now he leaves. So he's not riding. He puts this woman in the car. The woman is crying. White female, probably in her mid to late 40s. And she's crying, right? So the first thing I say, obviously, is, hey, is everything okay? Because the woman is crying. And she's like, yeah, I was just watching the Olympics. So I'm like, wow, you know, she must really be patriotic. You know what I mean? And so she's crying. So she says, I'm tired of Michael Phelps dating all these transsexuals. This is where the conversation starts. She says, I'm tired of Michael Phelps dating all these transsexuals. Now, this is the Summer Olympics. Michael Phelps is like the most decorated Olympian. I have no idea what she's talking about. He just had a baby with him and his wife or something like that. So I try to be as indifferent as possible. I said, oh, I hadn't heard that. That's the best thing I could come up with, right? So she's upset. So she says, I want to go to a drive-thru. Where's their drive-thru? I said, oh, there's a McDonald's on Long Beach Road. And she's like, I don't want to go to McDonald's. I want to go to Wendy's. So I'm like, okay, no problem. So I happen to know there's a Wendy's right there in Lynbrook. I'll just swing the Wendy's, then we'll head to Manhattan. This is where I know I'm in trouble. When I pull up to Wendy's and a woman says, what are we doing here? And I said, well, you did say you want to go to Wendy's. I don't know why you came here. So I realized something. When it comes to crazy, you can't negotiate with crazy. You just go with it. I said, you know what, miss, you're right. I don't know why I came to Wendy's myself. You know, let's just go to Manhattan. So we get on the LIE. We go to Manhattan. Now, all of us have to deal with crazy people in life, just not sitting behind us for an hour. So while we're on the LIE, she says, where are we at? I said, we're on the LIE. 5 seconds later, where are we at now? I said, ironically, we're actually still on the LIE, just a little further west, right? So now that I've deemed that this woman is not in her right mind, I want to make sure that I can see her. So I'm going to try to give the impression that I'm checking my right mirror when I just want to keep her in my peripheral view. Apparently, she notices this and she says, don't worry, I'm not going to kill you.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
That's when the music in your mind starts playing, right? He said, I'm not going to kill you. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, when did killing become part of this narrative? I thought this was like Wendy's versus McDonald's. I didn't know killing was on the table. So I instinctively say, I know you're not going to kill me. To which she says, and how do you know that? And then I thought about it. I've never actually been killed before, so I don't really know killing protocol.
This is your first time being possibly killed.
Exactly. So I don't have anything to substantiate that I'm not actually going to be killed. So I thought it was a very good question on her part. So I try to de-escalate the situation. We wind up getting into Manhattan, and then I'm supposed to drop her by Pearl Street. When I get to Pearl Street, I'm right there, like in front of a CVS or something. I pull over. I said, "Well, thank you. Have a good night." She says, "I'm not getting out here."
Oh, yes, you are.
I said, "But this is what Larry put in as the destination. Do I look like Larry?" And I said, "Well, miss, this is as far as I can go because this is as far as you all have paid. I'm not getting out. I don't feel safe here." So I said, "Well, it's Lower Manhattan. It's Saturday night. It's 10:30. There's plenty of couples walking by. So she's like, you don't feel safe." So I'm like, "Well, miss, you're gonna have to get out the vehicle." I'm not getting out the vehicle. So now it dawns on me, I've got to call a police officer, right? So I get out of the vehicle. She locks the doors of the vehicle. I have the clicker in my hand, so I walk away. I walk to the side where she's at, and I open her door. As soon as I open her door, she said, "Don't touch me. Don't touch me." I said, "Miss, now you have the black man standing with the door open with a white woman screaming, 'Don't touch me,' outside of a white car. Bad optic all the way around, right?" So she says to me, I said, "Miss, I'm going to have to call the police, and I'm not going to touch you." And I pull out my phone, and I start recording. I said, "I'm recording this for your safety and mine," right? Then I noticed her clothing is disheveled. So I'm saying, did this guy do something to her? And so I said, "Miss, if there's a problem, let me know. I'm going to try to call the cops." I can't find a cop to save my life. Nothing but yellow cabs going by, not one cop. And so finally an ambulance goes by. And the woman is like, there they are. Go call your captain. Go call your homeboys. Now, first of all, I hadn't heard homeboys since the 90s. I don't know what the woman is talking about. And she says, go call your captain with the white suit. And I'm like, what is she talking about with the white suit? Then I realized maybe like with one flew over the cuckoo's nest, maybe the woman had been, locked up, institutionalized, and she used to the nurses coming to something. I don't know what she's talking about. And so now I'm sitting there filming her, and she says, "I got a pocketbook full of hashtags." First of all, I want to tell you all, I'm not making any of this up. This all happened. The woman said, "I have a pocketbook filled with hashtags." The inanimate object hashtag that you would use on a computer, she was not lying. She opened her pocketbook. She had about 20 hashtags in there that was made out of carbon paper, like children made them in school, right? And I said, "Miss, look, please get out. I have other people that I have to pick up." She said, "Well, they're just gonna have to wait." And I said, "Miss, listen, listen, I'm only doing this because I care. You don't care. You just care about yourself. I've raised 3 children by myself. You only care about yourself." And I'm sitting there like, "Are we in a relationship or something?" Because I don't know what this has to do with me, right? And so the woman's going off, and she said, "You don't care about me." The woman said, "You selfish C word." I said, "What happened to the N word?" Because at least give me some familiarity. That hurt. She said, "You selfish." She's called me a selfish C word.
Colored.
And
Colored or crip?
No. There's something derogatory that they call women, which is
that word that
right.
incites riots with women.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And the woman is going off. So the woman is cursing me out for a good 5 minutes or so, right? So apparently, she did not live at this CVS. What a lot of my passengers think, especially the women, they think she may have been like a prostitute. And this guy found out she was crazy, and after they did whatever, he wanted to just get rid of her as far as possible and just order her an Uber and sent her anywhere. And so that's why the woman. But now, as far as I'm concerned, what I would think a prostitute would look like, I don't know that this woman could make a living in that field. And so as a result, I'm sitting there. It was a bad optic. Finally, the woman gets out of the car. She gets out of the car and she looks at me. And she has some more choice words for me on her way out. And the woman finally just slams the door and she leaves. And I decided to go home after that. I think I had enough. Yeah. And I said, if I ever see Larry, I'm going to beat the fireworks out of him, first of all. I did contact Uber to let them know. Because mind you, you give a rating to the person the passenger. She's not the actual person who's the account holder. So I just want you to know that's one of my crazy stories that I had to share with you gentlemen. Now, it was I was either going to tell that story or tell the story about when my cousin was on drugs and he stole the TV while my sister was watching it. But that's a different story. I'll save that one for another time. But this was a story. This was an Uber story. There's some crazy people out here, and yes, I did meet it. I used to have it on video, and if I still had it on video, I would give it to a young person to put it on World Star. But it was very, very crazy. And yes, Larry, know he was wrong. Lisa, I know he was wrong. And if I see Larry, it's going to be an altercation. We'll be right back after this. That was
it. I'm sorry,
Kelvin. How's your Uber career going now? It's still going?
No, I don't mess with Uber no more. They retired me because I couldn't do it no more. She said, "How many stars did you give Larry?" I was gonna make him C-stars.
so real quick, I mean, not to change subjects and stuff like that. Like Kelvin, like you all of us had discussion. People know that you have a background in ministry and stuff like that. And for me, and I'm just speaking for myself, what I noticed lately with things going on, has the Black church been absent with all the civil rights stuff that's going on right now? Have they been absent, and have they let us down of late, or have they been there? I mean, it's not just getting promoted. So, with that said, we do have another special guest in tonight. We have with us tonight Reverend Dr. Thomas H. Priest Jr. Jamie, can you bring Dr. Priest in tonight? Have this discussion.
Hello, Dr. Priest.
Hello, Dr. Priest.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. I'm enjoying your conversation here.
Please excuse that story.
No horror. Let me please pray for me so I can get to heaven. Don't let anything that comes out of my mouth. So, Dr. Priest, you and I have several conversations over the years about like the Black church and stuff like that. How do you feel about where the Black church is at now with things that's going on out socially right now? Do you think they're absent, or they could do more, or what are your thoughts?
That's a good question, Damon. And I would add not only the Black church, but the church, and let's start with the church in general, religious institutions. I see I definitely see a lack of social involvement. I've been part of marches and things of that nature. There is a such thing as social justice and social witness, but specifically in the Black community, I happen to be part of a white denomination, and I don't want to come off and with a certain perspective here, but being part of a Black community and being Black myself, I think we need to be more visible just as Black folk in the movement that are responsible for churches and congregations. Go ahead.
Right. No, go ahead, brother. Go ahead.
No, and I think it's a very valid question, because it's, from what you've seen, there is a sense that there's a lack of visibility.
One question, if I can ask, working in ministry myself for the last 30 years, what I've noticed is a lot of the publications that are geared, I spent 12 years as a youth pastor, and I've pastored a church. A lot of the publications that would come across for us, for our young people, would come from either far out west, it'd come from Colorado, it'd come from places that really did not understand the culture, especially in inner city communities and things. And so when you're part of a white denomination, do you spend a lot of time just trying to educate people on culture from maybe a sociological standpoint? Because I know we study theology, but there's still sociology and other things that people need to understand about people as they try to minister. Has that been a challenge or issue for you in your denomination?
That's an excellent question, excellent observation, and it's a major issue. Church no longer now is not where you go to church, you drop all of your social baggage at the door, you go in, you praise God, say hallelujah, everybody loves each other, and you go back and pick up your baggage and go back into your context. That's not church anymore. Church now, to be relevant, must be the intersection in church of all of those things that you bring with you. and we as Black folk bring, of course, to the church. And I, as a Black pastor, elder in the Presbyterian Church, I bring that with me in church. I preach it, I teach it, I talk about it.
Right, because I know certain things, some issues make people uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
I know Christ had to speak to things that made society uncomfortable, and we're actually countercultural to society. There's certain things that are just not going to, that we will not do because we still have a mandate. One of the issues I've found is working with each other has been a challenge at times. People have gotten away from, we're in this era of political correctness. I know the comedians talk about it. It's the same thing with the ministry. You almost kind of feel like the walls are closing in on you. And at the end of the day, you still have to go and try to set captives free. So one of the challenges, I would assume, because I was contacted by a denomination once, and the denomination was largely based in New England. And they said, we really don't have a presence in the Black or Latin community. We'd like to come down and we'd like to start churches in these areas. And I'll be honest with you, as you know, you have to kind of roll up your sleeves and you've got to walk amongst these people. You've got to experience what they experienced and to minister to them. And that's one of the challenges, because I realize you just cannot circumvent that process. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Practicing, like you say, the theology and live it is a reality that we are all on a battlefield, and to come into church and just praise God and act like the people aren't suffering and there's not racism and all the isms that are in society that people are suffering is sinful. I'm second career pastor. So I'm called, I started seminary at 55 after I retired as a engineer in the auto industry. And my call was clear. You're called here to be prophetic ministry, speak truth to power, and realize you're on the battlefield. Now, while most of your colleagues will be feeding the poor and doing the day-to-day charitable type ministries, you go to Pharaoh and let the people go. And so one of the biggest challenges I have is how can both of those calls work together? We still need someone to feed the people day to day. And then we still got to work with the people who go into Pharaoh and say, turn the water back on so everybody can eat too.
Right. We had a question, and I'll let everybody chime in for a moment. We had a question that we were asking about, the church's responsibility with Black history. And yeah. I was curious, do you think the church is held to a different standard than other institutions in the Black community, either fairly or unfairly? I was mentioning that I don't hear people mention things about the mosque in the Islamic community like they do the Black church. The Black church is an easy target, and in some cases we've done that to ourselves. But do you think there's a different standard for the Black church as it relates to the Black community and the scrutiny that we face in it?
That's a good question. The standards, the thing I'm gonna have to answer this without having all the data is based on what I see and how we behave as clergy, as leaders in the church, and how and where we lead the flock. Now, from my perspective, and this is, I love your conversation. Y'all keep it real. I'm gonna keep it real. There seems to be an emphasis more on the materialism than on the socialism. There seems to be an emphasis on where is God in all of this? Where are the people suffering? And what is my role in all of this? Not only to get favoritism with the people and be visible, but how can I really help the people and take that knee off their neck?
Absolutely. Excellent point.
Let me ask you a question. How do you overcome so much almost like a negative bias that so many Black people seem to have at this point towards church? Because I know I talk to some brothers sometimes, and all I hear is, the usual, money's for the pastor, and listen, you've heard it all, because before we can even start to to me, before the church can even start to teach people or, you know, bring on that responsibility in terms of Black history to people, there has to be a certain amount of trust that needs to be, you know, fostered. Like, you know, so where do you go with that? You know, what do you guys think? What's the first step?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I mean, what do you do in
yeah.
terms of, you know?
Well, I'm gonna say this. I may be an anomaly in my field being second call because I don't have to kiss the ring. I don't have to worry about the church paying my pension. I'm free. So when you take away all of those, I operate without that burden on me, expectation. When I go into pulpit, I can speak truth to power. Now, the congregation I preach to, all white congregation. Now, some of them don't care for it. They get tired of that. But also in the Black church, if I go to speak to the Black church, I may get the worst response back because why are you bringing up all this racism, negative? Why can't we get along? Your scriptures are too controversial. I mean, this is actual feedback. So, and so what you're bringing up is a real, and I feel humbled to be here with you today to speak truth. And I've heard comments like, "Oh, Tom, you're making the white folks mad when I do certain things or stand up for certain things and these kind of things." So it lets me know that there's work to be done, and we need to encourage, especially the church, to stay on this battlefield and be visible. And this is why. This is my theology. I call myself a disciple of Martin Luther King, and whatever you think about Martin Luther King, he sacrificed his life because he was murdered of speaking truth to power. He was murdered because in his last days, the strength to love, he says, is very difficult. And he was depressed. And he was depressed over what he told Harry Belafonte. I fear I'm integrating my people into a burning house. And I feel the same thing. And I see it unless we step up and speak that truth to the power, lead the people with courage, with what's going to take that knee off their neck and worrying about their salary or, and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with making a salary, any of that, but go back and what is your really call? What does God call you to do here today?
Yeah.
For right now.
Like, and like you said, like trying to like deprogram people, because like before, you know, I have conversations walking into some of these Black churches and they have white Jesus up there. The stained glasses are white. How hard was how you and Kelvin both could, how hard is that fight to change that mindset? And what do they say about when you say those things? Like, I want, like, we should change the imaging, because imaging is everything to our children. If they see us in power, you know, what do you say to those churches when you have those kind of conversations with those people in those ministries, older churches?
I spoke enough. I'll let Calvin go, and then I'll come back and respond. I've had those actual experiences.
Well, I have. Initially, when I started college, I went to Virginia Union University, and so my professors were Black, especially my world religion professors, and some of them were pastoring. One thing that I think you have to do, D, is obviously educate people. A lot of those things were out of tradition, and so the European model was imposed, and that there's nothing in Scripture that substantiates Jesus looking like that. All it was the people in power were able to just give that depiction. I always say, if we didn't have TV, they tell you LeBron James is white. It's just one of those things that people have always tried to do to spin something. So I was very, very conscious. I was, first of all, and that's why I think it starts at home. I was very, very fortunate to have parents who are very, very conscious of being Black and being proud just as a person. So even I grew up in a church with a white Jesus, the European depiction of Jesus and all those things like that. And at that time, I still knew as a Black man, I knew that I had value, and I never thought I was less than. So I think you have to educate people now. The concept is, if you believe that your savior is white, then you will just intrinsically believe white people are saviors, or that you look up to them. So that is the issue. So I think now I'll say this, because of the tradition of churches, if you are in a church, and especially if it's mixed denomination or mixed culture, and you try to take that down, I'm telling you, it's going to be the fight of a lifetime. A church will split over something like that. So I've always believed this, and I hope this is not a cop-out. When it comes to the divinity of Christ, I couldn't care if he was purple or green or orange. That's just me, because I realize he is the great liberator. And that's why I know word salvation, I have to tell you, I'm not called to preach just because someone is Black or white. If somebody is black and they're hungry, I'm supposed to feed them. If they're white and I'm hungry, I'm supposed to feed them. In other words, he supersedes that. The blood of the lamb cleanses all of that. As far as the depictions go, I think you have to educate people. That is someone's portrayal of who Jesus is. That is not Jesus. And then somebody has the Harlem Jesus, the 125th Street Jesus with the dreads, and he's been working out. Same thing. We don't know that that is Jesus either, but we do know what he came to die for. So that's the biggest concept. But I agree with you. It is important for people to know how they see their Savior and also see themselves.
Exactly. And then I'll just add to that. It's a very good question because it recognizes that symbols are important in our lives. As leader of the Black Caucus in the Presbyterian Church, one of the initiatives years ago that I initiated back in Detroit was that to go to the Black church and take down all the white Jesus pictures. And you'd be surprised, and I guess you wouldn't, of how many white Jesus was in the Black church. And so you got the response back, oh, no, you can't take down my Jesus. I've this, and that. But the key is to educate, just like Redeme. I was listening to her, how that construct, that racial construct has not only affected a social system, it's affected our religious institutions also. Because as someone said, I think you said, Calvin, it's European theology. We have Black theology. And so the role that I have in a white church is to say, I'm Black theology. You have your European theology. So one is not over the other. This is my context. This is where I know God from. You know God from being white. I know God from being Black, and proud of it. That's the key, not to assimilate into the white theology, first of all. So we do have to be educated. Now, if you can find a Bible called the People's Bible, in that Bible, it shows depictions of God from all over the world. And in that, you will see a who's the policeman here?
Right.
Okay. As you know, they're
former.
Yeah. A long time ago.
Amen. Okay. But you still have not forgotten. I listened to your stories. It's still in your psyche of the work that you did, and how
it doesn't go away.
It doesn't go away. Amen. Nothing is wasted. Nothing goes away. So in that, there's such thing as a forensic anthropologist. So Jesus was from Galilee, near the ocean. I mean, near the lake, near the sea, so to speak. And so anthropologists found remains of a roughly young man, and at that time, and they dated it. So if Jesus came from Galilee, and you pull up and they did a forensics, and you make based on the bones and the height, you kind of picture. So he was dark hair, and if he's around a fisherman or a carpenter, however that is, he's not going to look like a blonde, long hair, blue-eyed Jesus. I mean, that's a given.
Yeah.
And so when you look at when you look at in the scripture, why did they have to have someone to identify Jesus? If he's around all those people that came from Galilee, those fishermen, why did they need Judas to go identify him? If he was a blonde, blue hair, Rembrandt picture, he would have stood out like a sore thumb.
And even if you go further back, when when they're after him as a child, they take him to Egypt to hide, and his parents take him to Egypt. And the closer you are to the equator, obviously, the darker you're going to be.
Amen.
And so, those are things. But we have a question that just came in. I think you may have seen it already, Pastor.
No,
Masali. She asks, is there a reason why you choose to pastor the white church versus the Black church?
Oh, my goodness. Everything that I've done, and my family can support this, is by a call. And that's being sensitive. Where is God calling me to be? I know what my call is. Wherever God places me, that's where I serve. I don't change my call. As I indicated, I'm prophetic. I was called to be prophetic ministry, to deal with truth to power, uh, to realize the God's beloved community, and that's my call. So I was called to be there. Now I will share this, and I may get in trouble for this, but we all take risks, my brothers. When I put my call statement out in the system, the only churches that called me to pastor were the white churches. The black church, I did not get a call. So when I look at that, now my call didn't change, but where God placed me is changed. So I consider myself on the frontier, on the edge. Who are black leaders in the church, pastors leading white congregations? So that intersection right there. For if we can't eradicate racism in the church religious community, how are we going to eradicate it in society where we're dealing with man's laws? Do we need laws to say that you got to love your brother and your sister? That's the law. No. Where does love begin? It begins in your heart. It begins at home. It begins in the church. So I consider myself called on the battlefield in the front edge, dealing with, and I don't try to change them. I mean, from the standpoint, I try to witness to them. If you are a Christian, this is what it means to be.
I think that's a phenomenal answer.
Let me ask you a question. You know how I am. So now all these pimps in the pulpit, these mega churches. What are your thoughts on some of these guys out here that got Creflo Dollars, and they get these Lear jets, and Eddie Long with all these little boys. He like that boy booty and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on those things?
It's a sin. My call journey, a call journey, I'm gonna say, is a call journey, and I don't know if any call person, and through the journey that I've gone through seminary, through exams, through being examined on the floor of the Presbyterian Church and all of that, that God has called someone to be rich or to do this. That's not a call, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah.
I think
Dr. Priest, can I share experience with you, since like we just finished talking about how certain things don't leave you about your past, or with me with the police department or whatever. From my experience with the police department, especially when we were just talking about with the mega churches and stuff like that, I used to work in a certain area where there was a mega church, and I had a conversation with someone in a higher up position in the police department that basically kind of explained to me why the Black church doesn't get too involved with social issues when there's atrocities committed on Black people and marching and stuff like that. And they explained to me that the mega churches get politically involved, and they also financially, as far as business, they're attached to banks because they get loans from banks within the community to make certain purchases, to expand the church and stuff like that. So if they preach to the congregation about, educating the Black community about standing up, injustices, racism and stuff, the banks won't give them that support because they're not going to give them loans to do the things that they want to do, as far as like buying real estate, as far as expanding the church. So that keeps the Black church in their place. So do you find that there, from your experience, there's any truth to that?
I can't, it makes sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
But while I was in Detroit, in the neighborhood, the church, I lived in the neighborhood where the church was, mixed neighborhood, all white church, East Detroit, east side of Detroit. And the mega church moved in. I'm not going to give the name.
Correct.
And they bought one of their campuses. They had like 4 campuses, mega, pastor go around 8 in the morning till 5 at night, all these big mega churches. And the big Catholic church at the end of the street that closed, they bought. And I called to welcome the pastor and the staff into the neighborhood. I left messages in my cards in the door. I tried to get there on Sunday to get messages in. Never got a call back. So finally, I met one of the people on staff at the church, and so I've been trying to call and all of that. And I'm not going to share with you my answer, but you can guess what the answer was. It's not going to be, the pastor ain't going to call you.
Yeah.
So my relationship with the mega churches and observing them, the praise to come in, people are happy, that the gullibility, and I'm not saying that question anybody's faith and all of that, but our faith really is tested when it comes down to see where's your witness.
Yeah.
Where are you witnessing? And the reason I say that is where I'm pastoring now on the Eastern North Carolina, KKK country, all that white nationalists is over there. And we had a demonstration. We couldn't march because the priests were afraid you couldn't march. So we had the demonstration at the community college. And in that demonstration, they asked me to speak, being a pastor in the local area. So it was mostly white. And Martin Luther King said, where do we go from here? So what I told the white folks out there, I said, to you white folks, first thing you can do is where do you go from here? Is repent of your whiteness. Now, the next day when I get to the church, one of the church members come, how dare you? I heard what you said about it. I can't do nothing about white. And my husband going to come in here and beat you. I said, tell him, come on, let's talk about it. I said, no, because he may hurt. No, he ain't gonna hurt me. But tell him, come on. See, this is the attitude, is that we black folk, we black leaders have to be a visible witness with integrity and be authentic. And it takes all hands on deck. This is a huge battlefield because our people are suffering. And the last thing it needs to be about is money.
Yeah.
Well, you should tell that white woman that you know Damon Pearson, and I'll be gladly to handle that for you.
Amen.
For free.
It just seems from my opinion, my experience that that, like I said, the mega churches with the black pastors is designed to keep the black community in a certain place, to keep them docile so that they don't march, so that they don't think. Because when you really think about it, when there's usually an uproar in the black community, the first people that they go to usually is the clergy of the community to keep everybody calm, because they know they still need those loans and stuff to get things done. So, you know, black communities in an uproar is bad for business for the black church. Amen. So that's what I saw in my experience.
Amen.
Yeah, and it's also like, you know, they're saying like a lot of mega churches also get a lot of federal funding and aid. So that's another subject.
Yes,
that happened under Bush 1. So I'm not going. That's a whole nother subject we can go into. But that happened under Bush 1.
And there's a lot of tax exemption as well.
Yeah,
they don't pay a lot of taxes.
So Dr. Priest, thank you so much for giving to us like educating people on what's going on with the black church and how we can get it better. So how can people find you? Where can people find you at?
I'm currently president of the National Black Presbyterian Caucus. We're dealing with this issue. Our mission and purpose is for the church to take us seriously, to combat racism, and to fully participate in the church, and so that we can realize God's beloved community one day. And we're on the battlefield here. And you got the website there. You can leave a message there. My messages are posted on the website in my letters, calling for the church to change its polity, to be a member of ASALH, the Association for the Study of African Life and History. All of our Black History Months are parallel with ASALH because that's where the research is. And I think what Redeeme said previously, that the more you know about your culture and your history, the more power you have, and less you're vulnerable to people manipulating you. And so we parallel that with ASALH, trying to establish unity and interdependency among our people and people of color.
You're going to have me say amen. Ain't that something?
Hey, if I can say this. You know, it's 8:50 and I got to drive 2.5 hours tomorrow and preach. So this is special for me. The Holy Spirit told me, yeah, you got to go do it because, on a Saturday night for a pastor, you're getting ready for church Sunday. So, but this has been motivating for me. I hope I've provided some substance for you, but you've definitely motivated me and provided me. So I'm uplifted by this conversation.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Thank you. You travel safe. And listen, I'm scared that you on the road down in North Carolina with no gun on you. I got a couple I could give to you, but that's another subject, brother. All right.
Hey, I can always use a good bodyguard or companion now. I mean,
we'll come down there. All right, Dr. Priest, you have a good night. Travel safe, brother. Thank you, man. All right.
Thank you. Bless all of y'all.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. All right. That was Reverend Dr. Thomas Priest.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
Yo, Calvin
Yeah.
in love.
Love him.
Yeah.
Love his spirit.
Yeah.
His energy.
Yeah, man, that's good. That was good, man. A little education right there, man. So you people, we could bring that. We could have went on forever for that on that topic there. But
For real, man.
No, since COVID hit, right, like lately and everything that's going on, we all watch a lot of movies and TV shows, right? So this segment I want to call "Watch It or Chop It," and I'm gonna name one movie that I know is going right now. I'm gonna go first to this first one. I didn't see the first one that producer Jamie had lined up for me. This one movie that everybody think is so dope. I thought it was just to get chopped. It was One Night in Miami. It didn't give me nothing at all. I didn't learn nothing new. It was like the acting was bad from the guy that played Muhammad Ali. I mean, God, they could have got somebody at a jailhouse play to do Muhammad Ali. That was trash, bro.
Not the jailhouse play.
Yeah, man. I mean, I love Regina King, but this wasn't it, bro. I could have.
She directed it, right?
Yeah, and I love it. This. I mean, everybody gonna have their one bad flick, but this one was, man.
What was the platform? Who did this movie?
Regina King.
No, I'm saying, like, was it an HBO movie? Was it a
I think it was
Amazon Prime, movie.
Oh yeah, at least it's no spoiler. I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but
was it originally a play or something like that?
That's what I'm gonna say.
And it should have stayed a play. The whole movie is filmed like a play. It should have stayed a play.
It is filmed like a play. It's basically, like I said, we're not going to get too deep in it in case people didn't see it. But from what I got from it, I wouldn't say chop it. I would say watch it. D, I think you're thinking from a biased standpoint because you're educated about it. And there may be people that are not educated about it and they're learning something. You know what I'm saying?
You're right.
But I think it's a watch. I definitely think it's a watch. I think that it was a moment in Black history. You know, it's about the night Muhammad Ali won the heavyweight championship from the first fight with Sonny Liston. Yep. And basically Muhammad Ali, Jim Brown, Sam Cooke, and Malcolm X met after the fight in a hotel room and they discussed certain things about moving towards the movement.
Is that a true story, or is that
it's a true story?
It's a true story.
It's a true story.
I thought it was a fictional account. I don't know.
It was, and like you said, D, it wasn't set up like a movie. It was set up like a play. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. A play that was transformed into sort of.
I don't think those work on film. I don't like watching plays.
And I agree. That's why people struggle with them because they confused. They go like, this doesn't seem like a movie, but it's setting like a play form. But I would say watch it.
I think it's a watch it, but with the caveat that if you are a member of the Nation of Islam, they would not. To me, they weren't very friendly with regard to them. You know, and some of the things that I saw. So just remember, it's someone's account. If you are a member of that, remember that. You know.
And hang on, since we talk about movies that turn into plays, another one I chopped was Ma Rainey. I couldn't keep my eyes open past 30 minutes of that movie. A play filmed as a movie. Yeah. I mean, I know everybody's like, oh, Chadwick. I get it. The brother Chadwick, he's one of our ancestors now, but bro, God, I love the story of Ma Rainey. She was a great businesswoman. You know, she didn't play that junk, but this one was a chopper for me too, bro.
And Denzel was the producer of it too. Yeah.
Okay, so go a little bit into why, because I have to admit I watched it, and I have to admit I watched it in about 3 different doses. I didn't watch it all the way through.
It's a sleeper. You should go to sleep.
Yeah, and I think one of the things is it may be I like scenes to change. See, when I'm into a Broadway move, when I know it's gonna be one set, I'm with that. When it's a movie and it's one set, it's kind of hard. And it's just, she was outside for a second, then they was inside the rest of the time. And I think it may be, you know what it is? It's one of those things I think you have to just be in the mood for that. And the way things are fast paced now, I have to admit,
you gotta be in the mood. You gotta be in the mood for that movie to drink and have 5 cups of coffee and 5 ounce energy.
Powerful acting, though. You had powerful acting. You had some heavyweights there, but as far as the script, it just wasn't. It's not going to be a summer blockbuster. I'll say that.
Slow watch. Yeah.
And which one? Another one that I thought was pretty dope. I didn't. This one I just saw recently. It's called American Skin. I didn't like the ending. I'm not going to spoil the ending. But American Skin. Did any of you brothers see American Skin yet?
I saw American Skin.
I haven't saw it yet.
I saw it. I thought it was well done. I think it gave a great perspective on the unending argument that we always have about race relations, and it also incorporated with law enforcement and things. So I do like that. I thought it was pretty good, and I think it'll keep your attention. And I think it was fair. I think that's very, very important that it was.
See, Nikki agrees with Chop It. Like, Chadwick was like, I wish he was in that movie. They could have got a crackhead musician to play that movie. It's like that was trash. It was not that good. I'm sorry. Any of you guys see it? Nobody else saw it?
I saw it.
Oh, you saw it? What you think, Derek?
I listen. I kind of dug it, but I could kind of see where they were going with it, in terms of like just the period and everything, and so I mean there was an empowerment message in there, but at the same time it was kind of like they dealt with some of the things that we do, some of the self-defeatist attitudes that we just sometimes have. So I thought it was blues, and even the movie itself, the way it was shot, it was blues, and what I mean. So the movie was blues and the music was blues. I mean? So I mean, I dug it on that level, but it was. I could definitely see how you would say it was a slow build. You know what I mean?
But it was. I mean, I'll give it.
I like the character development.
Yeah, I like the American Skin. I just didn't like the ending. I thought I'm not gonna spoil it because I know some people didn't watch.
I was talking about Rainey. I didn't watch American Skin. I was talking about.
Oh, you're my Rainey.
I was talking about Rainey. Yeah.
Bro, they could burn. They could burn that one right now.
I'm gonna check out American Skin though. I check it out.
Yeah, it's on. I think that's on Amazon and Apple TV, I believe. But you got to rent it. That's not free, y'all.
I know. That's why I'm watching. I'm cheap.
Yeah. And no, for those that do Fire Stick, I'm not saying I agree, but I didn't see this, but I heard some bad things about it. But I didn't see you guys. Anybody saw the Salt and Pepper movie?
First, I did see it. I did see it. And what bad things did you hear about it?
I heard that the acting wasn't that good, and I heard the story was kind of like not really the good depiction of Spinderella.
They from what I understand, they had some legal issues with Spinderella or whatever. So they think like she's like disconnected from the group. They had to basically go to court and stuff with her. But the only thing I found kind of negative about the movie was that it kind of like, to me, maybe it was me. I don't remember certain things happening in that order. I don't know if they purposely did that or it gelled better with the way they did it or whatever. But I mean, I would recommend that somebody watch it if you were a Salt and Pepper fan. I mean, let's face the facts. Salt and Pepper, they were iconic. I mean, there was no other female rap group that was bigger than them. Yeah. And let's say this. They can't do a versus with nobody. I mean, who could do a versus with what female group could do a versus with Salt and Pepper?
357 is Vanessa Sequence.
You think they got enough? They got a catalog.
I'll say this. And this is gonna sound kind of unfair, I guess, or foul. I think the Salt and Pepper story. I don't think Spinderella, to me, I didn't really miss her, to be honest with you. And I know that sounds foul because Salt and Pepper. When I think Salt and Pepper, I think the two of them primarily. And I know a lot of people have been saying they were unfair to her. In Spinderella, I didn't think she was that major part of the group. Back then, I don't think a lot of DJs were. I just think it was just part of it. I did think the movie was okay. I thought it was entertaining, especially since the people we lived through that time. I think they did Martin Lawrence wrong in his depiction. I thought they just did him foul. They did Martin, the dude they had like Martin, they just did Martin wrong. And the fact that they all worked at the same place, I didn't know that, but I thought it was good. As far as the casting, I thought they could have done a lot better on the casting. That's the thing, and as far as the sequence of stuff, Rodney, I don't remember necessarily how that happened in real time. I remember that as a group, but I didn't remember actually a lot of their personal lives because back then there was no social media. You didn't see this stuff as much, so I don't really know the sequence of when they. I didn't realize that she had a baby before she met Treach. No, I didn't remember all that stuff. But I guess we can't go into it because some people haven't seen it. But but I think it's okay. I thought it was a good watch. I thought it was entertaining. I'm looking forward to seeing the Wendy Williams movie next. But I got to admit, Lifetime stuff and all that.
And I was just about to say that, Calvin. It was a life. You got to remember, it was a Lifetime.
You got to remember it's a Lifetime movie. So that's
recipe for a train wreck, man.
And last before we go, I didn't see this, but everyone, my boys in my other group text, and I think Rodney spoke to. Your Honor, I heard that's really great. Everybody
gotta watch it. Gotta watch it.
I heard it's really good.
Gotta watch it. Gotta watch it. I'm definitely saying it's a watch.
It's on Showtime, and for you,
and Hulu. It's on Hulu and Showtime.
Hulu, and if you have illegal Fire Stick, it's on there too. But
the thing is, it's the same actor that used to be in Breaking Bad. I think it's like either a 9-episode series or a 10-episode series. I know it's not finished yet. It's got 2 more episodes maybe to go on. But great show. It's basically, I'm not going to tell everybody the whole thing, but it's basically about a judge that something really bad happened with his son, and he's trying to protect his son. It's basically showing how far you will go to protect your kids and how lying can basically just spiral out of control. You know what I mean? But I definitely feel it's a much watch. It's so good. Me and my wife started off watching the series. I fell asleep, and she continued to watch it without me. So she's a series cheater. So I might be thinking about taking her to court for it. She's a series cheater, you know.
It's called Your Honor, Lisa. It's called Your Honor. I think it's on Showtime. It's called Your Honor.
Yeah. It's very good. I would recommend it highly.
Everyone I ever have not heard one bad thing about the show. So
it's really good. It's really good.
Well, let me say this before we wrap. We're about to wrap. I just want to say, Rodney and Derek and D, I want you to know that you are all getting a gift certificate to the Neckbone Hut. So I want you to know. I'm letting you guys know that it was supposed to be a surprise. But I'm
looking forward to it.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that was funny, man. Yo, that's something I really don't like. I don't like neck bones and oxtails like that because it's just too hard to eat. It's too messy. It's too hard to eat. I be hungry. You guys suck all that stuff on. That's hilarious, man. But brothers, man, once again, it's a good show, man. We had a good time tonight, man. I love you guys, man.
I love you.
Very educational.
Love all you guys.
For everyone, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Please like and subscribe. And we love you guys. Peace, 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 peace. Get travel safe. And watch out for that snow on, I think, Monday night. For those in New York. All right. Love you guys. Peace.